Everyone, welcome to part 4 in Dawson. This will be our last week in Dawson, then we're heading to Keno and we get back underground and show you some more underground mines. But anyhow, look at the size of these operations. So the real interesting thing about the Dawson area is they've been mining here for a very long time, and it's a very remote area, so all the equipment and stuff, they started back in the late 1800s. That's pretty much all been shipped up to the Yukon, is all still sitting there because it's so remote and so hard to get this stuff out. Now, it's really funny, for the last, over 100 years, the Yukon has been welcoming people from all over the world to come up there and take all their gold for free. And people don't have any problem with that on, YouTube and Facebook and all that. But here we are, we're trying to preserve some of the artifacts from the junk they've actually left behind there, and people think we're looting and stealing. Seems kind of crazy to me. But anyhow, we're going to keep documenting all this cool equipment stuff in the Yukon. This week we're going to go to dredges. We've seen 6 dredges altogether, some huge, massive dredges we're going to document for you guys. And then after that we're going to Keno City. But yeah, just look at the amount of stuff they got up here. Right after the intro here, we're going to go up and fly over Tony Beets' place there, and we'll show you some of the cool stuff they got there. Tony Beets have been in the Yukon a very, very long time. They got lots of cool stuff. And like I say, these dredges are just fascinating pieces of Yukon history, and we're going to dive into a bunch of dredges that we found for you guys. And so hope you enjoyed this week's show, and we'll see you next week from Keno City. Most of it's probably mental. You don't like dark places that are wet and you're claustrophobic. You have a bunch of phobias and stuff. It's not going to be the place for you. This is Tony Beets' place here. So this is called Paradise Hill. It's kind of the top of a mountain. They mined around there quite a bit, but just look how many scrapers and stuff they have, like huge boneyards. And like I said, it's not worth the money to haul stuff out of there. And the other cool thing is you leave all this stuff there. If you need some parts or whatever, you can, it costs a lot of money to bring stuff in there. So that everything just gets left up there. There's a huge amount of iron there. If you kind of look in the middle of the picture to the right, you'll see a little green patch of the white rock in there. That's Tony's place there, right in front of that. You'll see that on the show Gold Rush there. That's his house there that Tony and his wife live there. Well, in the summertime at least, they don't hang around there for the winter. They head to Arizona. Okay, so as we keep flying over there, you can see there's probably about 10 pickups there, so there's a lot more people that actually work around there than what you see on the show. I would say there's probably at least 20 people that work there. Huge amount of iron. There's pickups all around there, and we just started flying around there, and we've seen, just 6 people actually wandering around on the ground. So as we come up here, there's quite a few scrapers and stuff in here, and you can see his Oshkosh right in the very middle of the picture. Pretty neat looking machine. We saw one up there at Cassiar too. They had one there. Scrappy Larry has an Oshkosh as well. Yeah, so like I say, a pretty impressive lineup of equipment here. See, there's all their end dumps here. They got half a dozen of those. And as we fly around, so seen quite a few people on the ground there too, and they got lots of storage there. So I think Tony, he works with a company called Tamarack. I don't know what Tony actually owns and what they own. But they've been up in the Yukon for a long time. It's one of the bigger operations there, so it's pretty cool to see. You can see all the pickups and people running around. And I don't know if they've noticed the drone flying around. Probably if one of them's waving their fist in the air, it'd be probably him. I don't know. So, all right. So what we're going to do from here, just go a little bit over the edge of Paradise Hill, and we're down in the valley, and there's a really cool dredge there. So it belonged to another. It's on another claim. Tony doesn't own this other claim. But there was a dredge there just a little ways from Tony's place there, and it was featured on another show called Yukon Gold. I don't know if you've ever seen that one or not, but this dredge is in the middle of a cut there, and it had a fire and it burned it. So the guy's name is Carl there, that he mined all around there a couple of years ago on Yukon Gold. And we'll have a look at this and 5 other dredges. So this dredge was on another TV show called Yukon Gold. with the Knutsons with Carl. They mined all around it. Oh, there's a beaver. Let's see if we can get him to slap his tail. Come on, guys, slap your tail. No, that's a good director. That's a good director when you can tell a beaver slap a tail and slaps his tail.
Trained beaver. The size of everything now, eh? Like
Yeah. Yeah, the pulleys and stuff pretty big on it. Probably be easier to go in through the bottom door, maybe.
Yeah.
Of course, you don't want to do things easy, right? That wouldn't be any fun.
Is that where the buckets were on that post?
Yeah, the bucket line would have been there, yeah. All right. Some buckets here. Those are smaller buckets, though. Oh, there's all the winches for this one, though.
This one's got a big boiler in here, or a fireplace.
Yeah. Fireplace to keep warm, yeah. Yeah, I wonder what the boiler was for. Oh, look, there's a bird or something there. Pretty fair sized boiler too. I don't know what the boiler would have been for because it was all heated with. They couldn't have made enough electricity to run this off of steam. You wouldn't think. Yeah. It didn't burn that much. Some, but still a lot of timbers left. It's like a big ship. Yeah. There's the gangplanks. Another motor. Oh, the stairs are still in problem. Oh, look at this size of the stairs are in good shape. We get to the wheelhouse. There's the trommel. Sluice runs. There's the bars. Yeah. I don't know how old that would be though. Sluice runs from Yukon Dredge. Oh, Mark the Spiders here. Yep. Here's the end of the trommel. This trommel doesn't really look like that other trommel that we saw.
It doesn't, or?
No, because it's it's got the perforated decking quite a long ways in. I guess the only way you can get to the wheelhouse is kind of go through the trommel and maybe squeeze out through there. Maybe if that would even work. Maybe you'd have to go up. Could be better. The belting and everything's still in there. Oh, there it is, the wheelhouse right here. Yeah. Pretty similar to the other one that we saw. All the parts of the levers have been removed for souvenirs, I guess. They took the pins out. And that's where they operated the dredge from. Oh, there's another set of stairs going down. Oh, guess what? We could have just taken the stairs up here. To the chimney. For the boiler, yeah. Think they could have made their own electricity? Possible. Could have made their own electricity, and this one was electric, but could have made their own power. As you can see, most of this thing's made out of wood. A little bit of steel here and there. Well, a fair bit of steel, but a lot of wood. Big timbers, the whole main frame's all made out of timbers and everything. So if you look at these handles, there's one's got these whole bunch of gears and the other one only has a couple. So we're thinking what they are is one would be a winch where you could winch it up and then you could hold it in a certain position or whatever, and the other one would be a brake. So you're going to go up or something, and then the other one would be a brake to hold it. But we're thinking anyhow, because there's two different kinds of levers. One's incremental, we can go faster or slower, and the other one's probably a brake. So looking at those controls on each of those winches, you look at those rods, they come up from, that's where the controls are for it, goes right down through the floor. And you look at those rods, and there's one, the one in the middle there, for instance, there's a clutch right in the very middle there. And then there's a brake band. There's two brake bands and a clutch to engage and disengage it. It's kind of neat the way they did that. So there's clutches that engage and disengage, and brakes. Several brakes on each one. Two different levers would be brakes. The next dredge we're going to show you is way up on Hunker Creek. It's a huge dredge, very large dredge, and this one's completely sunk in the mud. It's probably about 8 feet in the mud, so the very bottom deck where the winches are, you're not going to be able to see that. See the spud on the very back, that big square metal thing? It's like a big spike that holds it in. It's kind of like an anchor, and it's a way to maneuver it. So after this, we're going to show you a restored dredge. The government, the Parks Canada, is restoring this dredge. You're working on it. It's about the same size as this. We went on a little tour and seen it. So if you're up in the Yukon, it's a pretty cool dredge. So we'll show you this old dredge first, and then we'll show you the newer restored one. Yeah, it looks like it's sinking right down into the skeg. I don't think we're going to be seeing this one on Gold Rush. It's going to be a pretty major restoration job with this guy. Ooh, cool. It's sunk in here pretty good. Let me just hop in one of these windows. There's the trommel part. And the bucket line comes right to here. Oh, look at the size of those buckets. Them are big.
You stole the trommel out of it?
Yeah, the trommel's gone, yeah. There's a real stat there for the electrical. Oh, this one's actually get upstairs here. Whaler's janitor.
Pulley driven one, eh?
Yeah. Pulley driven winch from the back. There's a back deck there. I gotta see the wheelhouse. That'll be the coolest thing. Well, spare rivets. Hundreds of rivets everywhere. That looks pretty solid, eh? Huh. They control it from below, maybe.
Yeah, that sounds different.
Yeah, it doesn't have a raised wheelhouse.
Down there where those rheostats were.
Yeah.
Where they control it.
Well, are we looking at the front? Oh, there it is right there. There's the controls right there.
Oh, is there?
The first right side there, the bottom deck. Yeah.
Looks a little bit different configuration.
Yeah.
See these big doors? These open there, eh? These big doors there.
Big doors.
Those are big doors. That
Oh, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
then that gantry would come in so they could get these big.
Well, this is
windows out.
steam operated. Look at this, a big boiler in it. Isn't it? That's a boiler, isn't it?
It could be, eh?
Looks like them doors there. Look like there. I bet you there's coal, shoved coal in there. We're gonna go down to the wheelhouse. Somebody just scavenged some of this planking here. By the looks of it. Wow. Well, look at the size of the buckets. They're huge. Massive. The decking is actually in pretty nice shape considering its age.
That's where the buckets would drop into.
Oh, I see.
It's just a cover.
Well, those are big buckets. And they're in good shape too. They're not, well, no, they're worn. Some. Big though.
But it was belt driven. 6, yeah, so 10 feet,
Yeah.
8 feet. It's a belt driven system too. There's a little belt here.
Yeah. Oh, that's right on. Yeah, this is where the pay went. This is the bucket. Yeah. These are just little windows where you look in there and you can see the bucket.
Yeah.
That's all it is, yeah. Doing the poop walk.
No, it's just a tremble walk.
This is a really big dredge. Like that one you see at Tony's is just a baby compared to this guy. And this is way older too. Now there's some Columbia company, it says. Number 5, it's Union CG number 5, it says Dawson. Okay, so we're going to continue on to the wheelhouse. This floor is pretty rotten here, as you can see. Walk on the joists. It's because there was water leaking out of there. It rotted it. Try to walk on the cracks. Ha! Oh, look at there's 2 rows of controls.
Yeah.
A lot more controls than we've seen on the other ones.
That's really neat. It's a huge wheelhouse too.
It is large.
Compared to the other one, eh?
It is, yeah, it's huge. Great. Well, people took the handles off here, parts of the handles,
Yeah.
because you don't see the little brass things or whatever.
Yeah, they had a
Well, ladder coming up to that bucket. Big, eh? I'll show you guys just how big this. A lot of this is wood. It's not made of steel as much. There's a lot of wood in here. Not sure why there's a screen in this from one part to the other, but very large and very old. This one is definitely eventually going to just sink into the mud. Oh, all the winches and everything are all below deck. All the mud sunk up into it. Because you see all the rods where the winches were, and they just go straight down in the mud. So this whole thing's sunk way into the mud. Yeah, all the floats and everything all underwater, but they're probably wood, I would think. Everything else is wood. There's not much metal on this thing.
Yeah, no.
None of the structural stuff is metal. Just little pieces of plate to bolt the sections of 12 by 12 together. And of course the pulleys and everything. Yeah. Lots of these greasers, these old style greasers are kind of cool. See, you just fill, this is how you grease these things, right? You just take this cap off, stick some grease in there and you tighten it, and then the grease will come out. Pretty large dredge buckets I got here, as you can see. I always think of these as a ship. When I'm in, that always seems like a ship to me. So here we're looking at the winches in here. An electric motor on here, and we've got a gang of 9 winches in this one. So that's pretty fair size. These arms are for a clutch, right? So it engages and disengages the winch here. You know, see that arm there? And then this other one is the brake band. So they can stop the winches, engage and disengage them. And that's what the controls do at the top. Interesting to see the massive timbers in these. There's some steel, but mostly all made out of wood. So the tour guide was saying it takes about 9 months to build one of these. So they get all the steel parts and they build it all from scratch in 9 months. So we're looking at the pumps here that run the dredges. Pretty massive pumps. That'd be the water supply for the sluice runs. Being big DC motors here, as you can see. And there's the plate for the motor there. It's Morris. Yeah. And this is the big winch and the motor that run the bucket line, basically. It lifted that the big arch there where the buckets are suspended on. That is a massive winch. I don't know how many horsepower that engine would be, but it's geared, as you can see, it's geared way down and it runs that big cable. That's the biggest one they'd have on the ship, I'm sure. I'm not sure why. They would have 2 pumps, maybe an auxiliary pump, or they would just need that much water. Okay, so here's our trommel. That's a big trommel. So this is where the gold comes down. The bucket line comes into there. And we're running 5,000 gallons per minute of water, so quite a lot of water into the spray bars. The trommel is big, long trommel, and there's all the holes where the gold's coming through all the holes. So anything that's bigger, anything that's larger than those holes is going to go right out the end of the sluice, right into the tailings. So this machine is not going to recover any nuggets that are larger than those holes, because the gold has to fall out through those holes. So we're looking at another electric motor here, not sure what, and another winch, I'm not sure what this one's for. Alright, so a couple other things interesting, these brake bands and these things, and that was the case for a long time. They're just made out of wood, right? So fairly easy to replace. They use ash or something like that. Of course, now they use asbestos, but yeah. You don't hit that brake too hard, it'll catch on fire. And I think it's kind of interesting about these. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but you see the lights? They got those springs and stuff on the lights, where there's so much shaking in these dredges there that the light bulbs wouldn't last, so they were suspended. So I don't know what we're going to see in here. There's all like rail stats in here, I guess. Yeah, it's electrical room in here. Alright, so we'll continue on. Pretty neat looking ship, huh? Look at the size of some of those cables. I think we're going to go to the wheelhouse next. Yeah, so this is where the buckets would have been if they had a bucket line on there. And apparently they had to replace the superstructure because the wood was compressed, I guess, from the weight. So that's not original, but anyhow, so I got a pretty cool looking wheelhouse here. Big wheelhouse here, we'll show it to you. And like I say, some of the other dredges that we visited have a similar setup. You got a row of rail stats here. And this is a capacitor, not a capacitor, it's like a diode. This would actually be a way to get rid of excess electricity, but it's also serves as you know, it's a heater in here too, right? So probably the operator was sitting on the bench here. You know, it was cold in here, and I don't know, I guess you couldn't really see too much from here because you're not looking down onto the bench. But so here's a whole row of rail stats. There's a bunch of parts missing off this dredge. They've been salvaged quite a bit. Like all the handles are gone for the, and we've seen some of these brass handles. They've taken those little pieces of brass for the locks. But yeah, cool view from up here. You would think they would have a bigger window or something right to the floor where you can see a little better, you know, when you're dredging. Wonder what that was. There's a button there. Something, maybe a bell or something, I don't know. Yeah, anyhow, we'll carry on. I think, look at all the stuff that's scratched in there. I'm thinking probably this thing was just sitting open for a lot of years and people just wandered through here and helped themselves to whatever was left. Now, this is the transformer that we got in our museum, just like that, same thing. Except I've got the rest of the pieces of mine. All right, so we're heading down. See the other part. So I want to get down to the sluice. See the sluice runs. They're down in here somewhere. Oh, the decking is such nice shape, eh? Kind of cool to see. Well, we get lost here. Not sure what direction they took off in here, but we're on the other side of the trommel here. There's the trommel. They're doing a fair bit of work in here. It's just another exit. This is where they had some tools and stuff. Or just extra of plumbing fittings. I guess they're probably on the sluice runs right now. If we get down here, should be able to see the sluice runs, which I think run parallel to the trommel. We'll see. So, yeah, they got pretty small screens in here, so all the bigger, they didn't have bigger nuggets and this stuff. Anything bigger than that would have washed out through the tailings conveyor. There's the tailings conveyor. There we go. Looking at the sluice runs here. They don't have any screens in here, but there's quite a. This goes two different ways. That's kind of cool. That gives you a lot of sluice runs doing it this way. Because you have them, that gives you probably 60 feet of sluice boxes, of sluice run. So the higher, probably most of the gold to be in the top rungs, I guess. And then the more, see probably this one here, I would guess that this top rung right here would have the richest gold in it. Because it would have dropped out of the trommel before anything else. And there's a spray bar. The spray bar that's washing all the gold out of here. So that's pretty impressive looking runs in here. Alright, so it was a pretty interesting tour of this of Dredge 4. Similar to dredges we've seen, just some stuff's cleaned up a little bit better. So if you guys are up in the Yukon and you want to see what a dredge is like, I think for $15 it was a pretty good deal. That wraps up our tour up in the Dawson area of the dredges. So next week we're heading to Keno and we're going to go back underground, get into some cool mines. You're going to meet Rick Ness there. Big thanks to Sharon for all the real cool still pictures, and to Ben, our tour guide. We would have never shown you much of anything interesting if it wasn't for some really good local knowledge. Really appreciate it. See you next week.